Severe weather warnings across Queensland, a developing tropical low, thunderstorm activity ramping up, flash flooding possible in multiple areas. That's the situation we're facing over the next several days. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, and there's a lot to unpack here. This isn't your typical summer storm pattern. We are looking at a complex setup that is going to affect a large portion of eastern Australia, with Queensland copping the worst of it. Right now, conditions across the state are already showing signs of what S building. Up around Mount Carbine at S, sitting at 30 degrees with 85% humidity. They copped an hour of heavy rain last night. That S a taste of what S coming for other areas. The Gold Coast is forecasting 35 degrees for Sunday. That heat combined with moisture is exactly the fuel these systems need. And it's not just isolated to one region. From far north Queensland right down through southeast Queensland, we're re-seeing this warm, humid air mass in place. Compare that to what is happening further south. Carcoar in New South Wales saw a top of 26 degrees with a low of 14 overnight. Clear skies, small clouds moving through. That cooler air to the south is going to play a role in what develops over the coming days. But let me break down what we're dealing with meteorologically. There's a tropical low developing in the Coral Sea. Now, this isn't a forecast to become a tropical cyclone at this stage, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's not significant. Tropical lows can produce cyclone-strength winds in localised areas, and more importantly for this system, they re-exceptional rain producers. The low is currently positioned northeast of Cairns and is tracking in a south to southwesterly direction. That path takes it closer to the Queensland coast over the next 48 to 72 hours. The Bureau has it maintaining low pressure characteristics rather than intensifying into a cyclone, but the uncertainty range on these systems is always worth noting. What makes this setup particularly concerning is the interaction between this tropical moisture and other atmospheric features. We've got an upper-level trough approaching from the west, a surface trough sitting inland, and all that tropical moisture feeding in from the Coral Sea. When these systems converge, that S when we see explosive thunderstorm development. Looking at the latest model runs from Access, the GFS, and the European model, there is good agreement on the broad pattern. All three models show this tropical low tracking southwest, bringing significant rainfall to coastal and inland Queensland. Where they differ slightly is in the exact timing and the intensity of individual thunderstorm cells. That S typical with these setups. The overall pattern is clear, but the specifics of where the heaviest rain falls, that gets harder to pin down. The wind shear profile is worth discussing because several people have asked about the potential for severe storms. Right now, wind shear across southeast Queensland is moderate. By Monday, there is a reasonable chance, ID estimate around 40 to 50%, that wind shear increases enough to support supercell development. That means large hail, damaging winds, and heavy rainfall are all possible. The ingredients are there. You've got the instability from the heat and humidity. You've got the moisture streaming in from the tropical low. And if that wind shear increases as forecast, you've got the rotation needed for organised severe storms. It's not a certainty, but it's a scenario worth preparing for. Let's talk about rainfall totals because this is where the impact really shows up. The Bureau is forecasting widespread falls of 50 to 100 millimetres across coastal Queensland from Cairns down to the New South Wales border. That is a fair bit of rain, but it's at the localised totals that are more concerning. In areas that cop repeated thunderstorms, we could see 150 to 200 millimetres. Some isolated areas could exceed 300 millimetres if storms train over the same location. For context, 200 millimetres in 24 hours is significant. It's not record-breaking for Queensland. You've seen worse, but it's enough to cause flash flooding, especially in urban areas where the runoff is rapid. Creek and river levels will rise quickly. Low-lying areas will flood. The timing breaks down like this. Today and tonight, we're seeing scattered storms develop across inland Queensland. These are the precursors. Not particularly severe at this stage, but they re-indicative of the unstable air mass that's in place. That Saturday, the activity intensifies. The tropical low moves closer to the coast. Thunderstorms become more widespread across central and northern Queensland. Coastal areas from Townsville to Mackay are in the firing line. Expect heavy rainfall, frequent lightning and gusty winds. Sunday is shaping up to be the most active day for southeast Queensland. That S when the tropical moisture really streams south and the convergence with the inland trough becomes most pronounced. Brisbane, the Gold Coast, the Sunshine Coast, all looking at a high chance of severe thunderstorms. Flash flooding is a genuine risk in the metro areas. Monday, the system starts to shift. The tropical low is forecast to weaken as it moves inland or further south, but weakening doesn't mean it stops producing rain. In fact, As these systems transition, they often spread rainfall over a wider area. Southern Queensland and northern New South Wales could see significant rainfall Monday into Tuesday. By Tuesday and Wednesday, the heaviest rain should be easing, but scattered showers and storms will linger across the eastern states. It takes time for these patterns to completely clear out. Now, let's get specific about different regions because the impacts vary considerably depending on where you are. Far north Queensland, from Cairns north to Cape York, you're already seeing storm activity. That continues through the weekend. The tropical low passes to your east, so you're on the less active side of the system, but you'll still see periods of heavy rain and thunderstorms. Coastal areas could cop 100 to 150 millimetres. That's manageable for most of you up there. You are used to heavy wet season rain, but keep an eye on creek crossings and low-lying roads. Central Queensland, from Townsville down through Mackay to Rockhampton. Saturday is your main event. The tropical low is closest to your coastline Saturday into Sunday. Widespread heavy rain, embedded thunderstorms, possible wind gusts to 80 kilometres per hour. Coastal flooding is possible with the combination of rainfall, high tides and onshore winds. If you've got boats, get them secured. If you're in low-lying coastal areas, have a plan. Wide Bay and the Sunshine Coast, Sunday into Monday. That's when the moisture really ramps up in your area. Severe thunderstorms are likely. We're talking potential for large hail, particularly around the Sunshine Coast hinterland, damaging wind gusts, heavy rainfall leading to flash flooding. Gympie, Noosa, Maroochydore, all in the zone for significant weather. Brisbane and the Gold Coast, Sunday is the day to watch. The combination of heat, moisture and instability sets up perfectly for severe thunderstorm development. The Gold Coast forecasting 35 degrees Sunday is not helping matters. That heat is fuel for storms. By late afternoon, evening, expect widespread thunderstorm activity. The Brisbane metro area and the Gold Coast could see localised flash flooding. The catchments are relatively dry, so they'll soak up some of the rain. But if we get 200 millimetres in a few hours, that flash flooding regardless. Darling Downs and inland southeast Queensland, you are not immune from this. Sunday night into Monday, as the system moves inland, you could see severe thunderstorms with large hail and damaging winds. Toowoomba, Dalby, Warwick, keep an eye on the warnings. Northern New South Wales, Monday into Tuesday. The remnants of this system spread south. You are looking at widespread rain, which frankly many of you need. Sydney S been waiting for decent rain. The catchments are getting low. This system should deliver 50 to 100 millimetres across the northern rivers and the north coast. Further south into the Sydney Basin, 20 to 50 millimetres is more likely. Not drought-breaking, but helpful. Now, historical context. This setup isn't unprecedented, but it's significant. The combination of a tropical low and an inland trough is a classic Queensland weather pattern. You saw similar setups during the 2011 Queensland floods, though that was on a much larger scale over a longer period. You saw it in the 2022 East Coast floods. The 2011 event was catastrophic. Brisbane, Toowoomba, the Lockyer Valley, 35 people died, billions of dollars in damage. That was the result of repeated heavy rainfall over weeks, saturating catchments, overwhelming flood defences. We're not forecasting that level of event here. This is a shorter duration system, but it's worth remembering that Queensland floods can develop rapidly and with devastating consequences. The key difference is the current state of the catchments. They are relatively dry. The ground can absorb some of this rain. But if we get the forecast totals in a short period, that absorption capacity gets exceeded quickly, and that when we see flash flooding. So what should you be doing? Let's get practical. If you are in the areas forecast for severe thunderstorms, southeast Queensland particularly, have a plan for Sunday. If you are out and about, know where you can shelter. Thunderstorms mean lightning, and Queensland averages 5 to 10 lightning fatalities every year. Don't be a statistic. Get indoors when storms approach. Flash flooding happens fast. If you're re-driving and you encounter floodwater on the road, turn around. Don't attempt to cross. The SES slogan is right. If it's flooded, forget it. Every year people die trying to drive through floodwater. The road might look solid underneath, but it could be washed away. The water might look shallow, but it only takes 60 centimetres to float a car, not worth the risk. For those in flood-prone areas, particularly low-lying areas near creeks and rivers, start preparing now. Move valuables to higher ground. Check your emergency kit. Make sure you've got a battery-powered radio, torch, first aid supplies. If the power goes out, and it might with severe storms, you want to be ready. If you've got livestock, get them to higher ground if you can. Check your fences, check your sheds. Damaging winds could bring down structures or scatter animals. Better to deal with it before the storm than after. For those with solar panels or outdoor furniture, secure what you can. Wind gusts to 80 or 90 kilometres per hour can turn a deck chair into a projectile. Trampolines are notorious for becoming airborne in storms. Tie them down or dismantle them. If you're replanning outdoor activities Sunday, reconsider. Golf, fishing, hiking, any of that can wait. It's not worth being caught out in a severe thunderstorm. Sunday's a day to stay home, stay safe and ride it out. For Brisbane and Gold Coast residents particularly, be aware of your local flood risks. Brisbane City Council has flood maps online. Check if your property is in a flood zone. Know your evacuation routes. If you're in areas like Rockley, Oxley, parts of the CBD that flooded in 2011, you know what can happen. This event isn't a forecast to reach those levels, but it pays to be prepared. Keep an eye on the Bureau of Meteorology warnings. They'll issue severe thunderstorm warnings when storms develop. Those warnings include specific details about hail size, wind speed and rainfall intensity. Take them seriously. If a warning is issued for your area, act on it. The SES number is 132500. That S for life-threatening emergencies. For general storm damage, you can request assistance through the SES website, but understand that in a widespread event, resources are stretched. They prioritise life-threatening situations first. For those asking about Christmas Island and the Cocos Islands, this system is well to the south and east of you. You are not in the firing line for this particular event. Your wet season weather continues as normal, which means scattered showers and storms, but nothing out of the ordinary from this Queensland system. Now, a bit of perspective. Queensland in summer means storms. It's part of living in the subtropics. Most of you have been through this before. You know what to expect. This system is more significant than your average summer storm, but it's not apocalyptic. Be prepared, be sensible, but don't panic. The media sometimes ramps up the drama with these events. I am not here to do that. The data shows a significant weather system that warrants attention and preparation. It doesn't to show an end-of-the-world scenario. UV-weathered Cyclone Tracy, Ash Wednesday, Black Saturday, the 2011 floods. This is serious weather, but it's manageable with proper preparation. One other consideration, the temperature swings we've been seeing across the eastern states have been making people crook. The heat one day, cooler the next, back to heat. That plays havoc with your system. Headaches, sinus issues, flu symptoms. After this system moves through, we should see more settled conditions, which means more consistent temperatures. That'll be a relief for many. Looking beyond this immediate system, the extended forecast shows a return to more typical summer patterns by next weekend. Scattered afternoon storms, warm temperatures, but nothing like the organised severe weather we are seeing Sunday and Monday. The tropical low dissipates, the upper trough moves through, and we go back to business as usual. The longer range outlook for the rest of January and into February is still showing above average rainfall for eastern Australia. That S consistent with the La Nina signal we're re-seeing in the Pacific. It doesn't mean every day is wet, but it does mean when systems develop, they tend to produce good rainfall. For farmers, for dam levels, that S positive. For those sick of the humidity and storms, it is just something to endure. One final note on the aurora activity some of you witnessed earlier this week. Absolutely stunning photos. When solar weather puts on a show like that, it is a reminder of the bigger cosmic forces at play. The geomagnetic storm that produced those auroras was significant, and it had some minor impacts on satellite communications and navigation systems. But it is unrelated to the weather system we are discussing. The aurora is space weather, the tropical low is atmospheric weather. Two different phenomena, both fascinating in their own right. So, to sum up, developing tropical low in the Coral Sea, tracking southwest toward the Queensland coast, interaction with an inland trough and upper level system. Recipe for severe thunderstorms across Queensland, particularly southeast Queensland on Sunday. Heavy rainfall, 100 to 200 millimetres widespread, higher in isolated areas. Flash flooding risk, damaging winds possible. Large hail possible if wind shear increases as forecast. The timing is Saturday through Monday, with Sunday the most active day for southeast Queensland. Northern New South Wales sees the tail end Monday and Tuesday. By Wednesday, conditions ease. Preparation is key. Secure loose items, check your emergency kit, avoid flood water, shelter from lightning, monitor Bureau of Meteorology warnings. Don't panic, but don't be complacent either. This is significant weather. It's not every day we see tropical lows interacting with these other systems to produce this kind of widespread severe weather potential. But it is also not unprecedented. You've seen this before, you'll see it again. Queensland in summer, stay safe. Look after your mates, especially those who might be vulnerable or isolated. Check on elderly neighbours. Make sure everyone's got a plan. I'll be monitoring this closely and will update if the forecast changes significantly. The models have been fairly consistent, which gives me confidence in the overall pattern, but these systems can wobble. A slight shift in track changes, which areas cop the worst of it. Keep checking the latest information, right? That is the situation as it stands. Severe weather on the way for Queensland. Sunday as the main event for the southeast. Be prepared, be safe, and we'll all